Our first presenter is a man who has gained acclaim internationally at prominent film festivals with films such as UAE's first CGI science fiction animation film, Xero Error, as well as being recognised for his achievements in the creative arts in the UAE. He is the CEO and founder of Dubai-based digital design agency Expanse CGI and has worked as senior digital artist for Bayana TV in Dallas. His work also features in major publications. Ashraf Ghori's expansive body of work has earned him prestigious accolades, brand associations, and a growing following in art, pop culture, film, and technology. Today, he will be talking about how to break into a career in fantasy. I'd please like to welcome Ashraf Ghori.
Thank you, Margot. Good morning, guys. Very good morning, in fact. I really am honored that I've been invited by the organizers to give a presentation and share with you on this great platform where creative, like-minded individuals can come together and share our knowledge. First off, I hope that my sound and video is clear.
Yes, it is, Ashraf.
Okay,
no problems.
excellent.
You're very clear on screen.
Excellent, thank you. So it's so I'd really like to share with you some of the insights that that I have been working in this creative industry for over 20 years, and to inspire you to think about the possibilities of a career in fantasy. So I'll just share my screen here. Right, guys, what I'm about to share with you may seem like generic slides with information, but this is a lot more than that. This is a culmination of, like I said, a 20-year experience that I've had. There's a lot of learning curves that I had to go through. And this is something which I hope to share and pass across to you. So to make your job a little easier, or to at least demystify what it is like working in a career in the creative arts in the UAE. I've dealt with also international clients and so on. So there's some information in there, which I hope that if you follow, it will help you to understand what it's like to get into this industry. So the most important part of any designer's arsenal, it stems from inspiration. I'd say some of the most creative and the most important works of art may have originated from a singular idea. These images that I'm sharing over here, each of them have a very important story in my career. So the very first image of it obviously is from the Tron film from the 1980s. The first time, and I was a child, I heard that they started using CGI in movies, and I was very curious to see what it was like. And I managed to find myself a really a VHS bootleg copy of this film, because I could not find it anywhere. And this scene was the very first inspiration which got me thinking and inspired by it. It was like a punch in the face. I was like, this was visuals which you'd never seen before. The second is a poster of a Timberwolf mech from the game MechWarrior 2, which came out like in the early 90s. This is something which I've always had pasted as a poster right in front of my face, like in my studio. And this was a creative inspiration where I was looking at it from a point of view where this is achievable. It's a bunch of shapes that are put together that form this amazing piece of artwork. And this is what really got me into 3D. I give credit to these two images, or these two film and a poster, to really get me started into into 3D. And later on, like I said, I ended up creating the UAE's first CGI animated film, which got a lot of recognition worldwide and regional. Comics have always been my single greatest inspiration. They every pound that I would manage, every comic book that I managed to get, I would like seriously absorb it and read it and love it and draw out the superheroes, what I see. You know, it was just a very dynamic way of storytelling. It's just something which has always stuck. And thankfully, it's a fad that never quite went away. In fact, it became stronger than ever. And those comics, which I would read as a kid, are now transformed into Hollywood movies, thanks to the magic of visual effects, which is now possible to do that. But then you imagine, as a kid, you actually are living that life, that type of an imaginary scenario, and getting inspiration from that to create. These two are some of my favorite artists. Weapon X over here is drawn by Mr. Barry Windsor Smith. It was a comic anthology that came out in the 90s, and it was again a huge inspiration. I would try to emulate the style because it was just so unique for the time. There's the digital painting in the back is by Simon Bisley. Is again one of my single greatest inspirations. But the most important image on this slide is the image of the boxcar. This is something as a kid, I drew a two-dimensional boxcar, and a friend of my dad's literally added a few lines to extend it or extrude it into 3D space. And this was how you would say a mind-blowing experience. And this, I attribute single-handedly this image for me to get started into the art, into drawing, into creating. So never underestimate the power of inspiration, because of a singular source might lead to many good things in your career to follow. There are some rules which I try to follow when it comes to inspiration. So here you are, 2 steps above your competition. Who's your competition? Like, you know, your peer group, people who are working with you, people who are in your industry. Why are you 2 steps ahead? Because they are looking among themselves for inspiration. They're ripping each other off, or they might be doing a 9-to-5 kind of a scenario where their inspiration is not to reach any form of greatness, but rather to complete the work and submit it and get it out of the way. So when you, on the other hand, you're not even looking down there, you're looking up to your heroes for inspiration. So you have, whether you're into design, or whether you're into web design or logo or whatever it is, you're looking at the best one in the field, but you're looking at someone who you can successfully emulate. You're not looking at someone who's so good that you feel dejected, or you simply stop creating because you're never going to reach that level. You have the sense of a dejection. But then you're looking at it at a person. When I say a person or an individual or a team, or when I say it's an individual, it's better to focus your energies onto one type of inspiration. 1, 2. But then when you start looking at too many different inspirations, you tend to lose out on your core, what you wanted to develop. So at this point, you're not only taking inspiration, you're taking their technique. And by all means, feel free to rip them off and copy them, because the best designers or the best artists, they have started off emulating others, but then make sure that you add your touch on top of that. And this is where the greatness will come in. And right way above are your stars. So here you are, you're looking at the stars, but then you are not taking inspiration from there. You are taking an aspiration that this is what your career would be. Maybe you're a Frank Frazetta towards the end of your career, that you will be looked up to, and you will appreciate the kind of work that they have done. So there's a fine line. There's some stuff that you need to keep in mind when looking at inspiration even. So now now that you're inspired, here you have multiple paths that you can take to as part of your career. You have I come from the paradigm of a generalist, someone who is well versed in a number of different things in art. So I do comics and branding, and I've done graphic novels and storyboards and film and animation. So there's a number of different types of skill sets which I have developed over the years. So working, you have a choice of starting off as a freelancer. Start off as a freelancer. You have, like, facilities now which officially can get you started as a freelancer. You don't have to join a company. You don't have to, like, get a job to begin with. It's good to start small, work your way up, get your skills in order, try to make contacts, and get into the industry. And initially, people are really concerned about, like, okay, fine, what kind of a job will I get? Do not worry about money to begin with. The first thing what you want to do is create your best work with people who you want to grow with. Do not think, maybe you might even do work for free for some time, or whatever it is, that you want to get your portfolio going on. You want to get your portfolio and contacts. These are the two things which will really help you out. So as a generalist, you're going to do that. Or you can always join up a bigger machinery, a bigger firm, a bigger studio, and be a cogwheel in the big mechanical structure that the machinery is. So if you see a Pixar movie, for example, you have like thousands of names that are under the creative side of things. Every one of those is a potential job. And there are people who are specialized in so many different things. So I'll tell you more about that later, because there's as many jobs as there are credits on a Pixar movie, for example. So you can join up as a specialist, as a work, or join the workforce. Obviously, join the job, and these are just ways of developing your career. You might be the fine artist type who is going to be known as an M.F. Hussein or a Picasso, who has a specific style of art that you want to develop and be known for that. You want to be a Banksy, go ahead. This is something which I say, either you put all your eggs in one basket and then brand yourself as such. But I would still keep this as category number 2. Get the initial experience working under someone, and then branch off into something which you think is your calling. You can always offer a unique offering to the industry, which has not been done before. There was a person who was working in there was a lady who was working in the animation industry, and there was, so in the animation industry, you have like storyboard artists, you have the director, and there's a direct relation between them. But then this person created a new niche in the job market called a storyboard planner. So in essence, what they tried to do was demystify the directions for coming from the director and plan it out, give clear directions, clear instructions to the storyboard artist. So the storyboard artist doesn't have to think about all the the question marks, because the question marks will will end up slowing the process. So you can come up with a new and unique offering to the market. So I wasn't kidding when I said there were as many jobs and types of careers that you can take as a designer. I mean, here, like, so just one fine day, I just looked up, there was a portfolio day going on, and I just see what people are doing around the world. And these are just like the first 10 things I came across. Here's a guy who designs guns for games. And it says it's for sandbox. It's a specialization type of a thing. Another person, he only designs hair for CGI characters. You have a person who's doing sports memorabilia type graphics. Another person who's creating props for characters in the games, not even the characters. There's a person who's specializing in makeup design. There's a person I know who does maps, like base relief type of maps where you can feel for Lord of the Rings games. And then here's a guy who's drawing robots, converting them into 3D and making toys out of them. Here's a guy who only does photorealistic hard surface modeling. So it's really what you make of your career. And these are possibilities which you can get into, whether it's film or the creative agencies and so on. Now, I had the privilege of judging a student filmmaking competition a few years back. And there was one thing which I noticed was a common trend among all the students. While they finished their work and they submitted it, which I gave them a lot of credit for, because completing something and not like signing off in between is a sign of perseverance, and that is to be applauded. But there was something that was common in there. They submitted, again, their objective was to finish and submit. And I could see that there are mistakes. I could see there are, the script is not well written. I could see that whatever they shot the very first time, they simply went ahead with that, and they added it to the edit. There was no extra editing process. They never went back to refine the script. They never did multiple takes of a scene. So that is where the difference was when it comes to amateur work and professional work. So we're not all J.K. Rowling here who can come up with Harry Potter in the first draft. But she didn't come up with Harry Potter on the first draft. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone went through 15 different drafts before it could be finalized. So there was that, and each one is lovingly created and constructed and finished from end to end. And that's like a version of the story. And it went through 15 versions before it reached us. And that's where it became a critical success with a huge cult following. And I think sometimes maybe if the first one came out without any form of revision, or just the first thing whatever J.K. Rowling thought of had come out, perhaps it wouldn't have reached that level of success. Maybe it was missing the initial, some integral characters. It didn't have the level of finesse that we are used to seeing. So this is the first thing what you're going to keep in mind, that whenever you're going to produce something, do not accept the first one. It's only very, very rarely that you will hit the nail on the head on the very first try. But come up with the first draft, work on it, come up with something better. The best work that I have produced in my career is working for demanding directors who are not happy with anything. They want to see something better. And then I am coming up with something really nice, which I think is really nice. But the director says, no, go back. Let's redo this. Let's make it better. And it came to a point where it was. And then when I saw the finished product, and I was like, I'm glad that the director pushed me to come up with those variants or the redos. And the finished product was infinitely better than what it would have been had I been settled for what I thought was good. There's another thing which has helped me a lot during my career is I have always, whenever a client has entrusted me to do some work, I have always tried to give them a little bit more than what they anticipate. It's not like I have so much free time that I can afford to do freebies. But this, to me, is an investment. When you're doing something, it's first off, it shows to your client that you are interested in this and you are trying and going out of your way to do and produce something that is more than what is the initial requirement. You're putting your input into it. You're putting, well, if he asks for a single direction, you're giving him 3 directions. So there are ways that you can improve on what you're doing, and at the same time, now you're giving it 110%. Now, this will be the reason why your clients will want to work with you in the future. And I have managed to successfully retain clients for decades, simply following this, where you're giving something, and I am genuinely interested in creating something that they're happy with. So when people see that, they want to work with you more. They want, so that little extra 10% that you're putting in, it's coming back to you tenfold. Now you're just going to go through the word of mouth channels, you're going to go work with this guy or go work with this person, because they have gone out of their way to give me this, and they will get the extra reviews, and the word of mouth is very strong. It will get you a lot of work. My third rule of expanding your portfolio is to also learn on the job. I am a behind the scenes type of a person. I really don't like public speaking. It's not my thing. But every single time there is an opportunity that comes along, I can either say that, you know what, I'm fine. I'm okay sitting in my studio with my head bent down and drawing away or creating the next animation. Or I can say, contrary to my better judgment, that, you know what, I'll do it. And I see some benefit in doing that. Because every single time I have tried to get more than what I have initially anticipated. I try to do a little bit more, expand my comfort zone. This is something that has only added to my portfolio or a skill set, or even life contacts and things which would help you in life in general. What is a real life scenario? So for example, a client will approach you for a storyboard job, but then and you're a good storyboard artist, but then the client also requires animatics to go with those stories. You have that skill set, but then you're like, you know what, I'm fine. I'll just do my storyboard and I'll get paid for it. Or you can step up to that challenge and say, give me 2 weeks, I'm going to get it done. It's not hard. You know there's a technical thing behind it. There's initially when I started off, I was only doing Photoshop and this and 3D, and I was like really scared about going into and learning something else. After Effects was staring at me for ages, and one fine day when I did start to use it, I was just kicking myself. Why didn't I do this sooner? So you can offer that and learn on the job. And now you have a client who's going to be somewhat more invested in you. And also you have a skill set that you've added to your comfort zone. So now your comfort zone has considerably grown. Next time when you approach a client, you can say, hey, I do storyboards and animatics. Check this out. This is so. Here's one thing which you keep in mind, that the rich keep getting richer. So once you get known for something, you will keep getting that kind of work. So make sure that you are offering enough skill set, especially when you're going from a generalist standpoint, that you do have enough skill set, because you want to be managing at least 3 projects at a time. And you want to have things to fall back on in case your storyboard doesn't work out. Maybe you have another skill set in logo design or whatever it is, that that is balancing that out. So you do want to have extra skill sets, and that will help you expand and pay your bills. The next part of it is going to be the most scariest one. So now that you have established that you have now you're doing your best work, so you're not just settling for the first draft. You're giving the 110% policy, where you're putting in something extra, and you're coming out of your comfort zone to expand your skill set. So now is a good time for you to do that personal project that you've always wanted to do. This is the scariest one, because you want to really, because there's no one pointing to your head. This is something that you're doing people out.
Ashraf, you there? You've just frozen on screen, so we're just trying to fix it. Okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Did I?
Yep.
Am I back?
That's okay
Yeah.
now. Yep. We're back. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll just blame the weather for that. I'm sorry, where was I before I got cut off? Could someone?
Maybe if you could just start this section again, if that's
All right.
okay.
That's fine. So I would say the next important part of your career, and this is the one which is the scariest, but this will give you the most dividends, is to do that personal project or take an initiative to create something. It may be something that you always wanted to create, a film, a comic, an animation, or a series of paintings, or a benefit a cause, or something that you really feel passionate about, but you never had the chance to do it. So now that you have started following some work discipline and you have some experience under your belt, you're going to take that and make a passion project. Now, this is what you're going to be known by. You will, if things go correctly, then this is going to be your calling card, and people will know you for this, and this will ground you and put you on the map. So what kind of examples can I give you? I have taken maybe just random example, 3 initiatives in my time, in my life. The first time I was a 13-year-old student, everybody was going to school. I really had this itch of getting my work published. So I approached Gulf News and Police Times, and so one of them was I would call him a visionary enough to accept me or give me a chance to create something for a publication. this was the magazine Young Times, because I'm talking, this is like the mid 80s, where you don't have the internet. It's a time where you cannot imagine. You don't have email, you don't have cable TV, you don't have inspiration coming to you left and right. It is something which is a and publications were the only creative outlet for that time. So naturally, I approached them, and so when I took that initiative, I was still a student of 13 years old, but my work started getting published. There were multiple benefits that came out of that. I got into a working relationship with Kalish Times which lasted for over 10 years as a freelance artist. I was doing work on a regular basis. I was getting fan mail. I mean, you can imagine, like, people sending me, because this was, you have to remember, it was a different time. People were, especially the kids, they wanted to see their work published, and they would submit their work, and there was nothing like that at that time. So this magazine would come out on a Tuesday, and the kids would be lined up in front of the store to get their copy, and would sell out really fast. And it was distributed all over the Gulf, all over the MENA region. It had a great following. And this, to me, was the first stepping stone to my career, where I later on, I mean, just to give you an example, a chief from Microsoft approached me, who happened to be a fellow young timer, who would also be following my work as a kid. So the moment someone suggested that I join up as a brand influencer this was for the launch of Windows 10 and the Surface. I don't even know. I did a number of Surface tablets with them. The launch of so I would they would use me as the face of the campaign. It was called Do Great Things. So that association came in from a young timer, something that I did as a 13-year-old, where, again, I took the initiative. Nobody forced me to do it, but it's something that was there. I grabbed the opportunity and did it. Number two thing that you see over there is called Tempest Comics Presents, is a 4-issue miniseries that I was a student in Houston in the mid-90s. I got in touch with some creative, like-minded people who are into comics, and we joined together and wanted to create our own comics. And very soon we started getting into it. The Houstonian crowd started supporting it. They saw these young guys who were trying to do something, and they started featuring us at comic conventions, and we were rubbing shoulders with greats like Stan Lee and Al Williamson and Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld. And we were there being featured along with them at conventions. And none of our weekends for the next 2-3 years were free. Every single weekend would be featured at different convention. And these were comics that we're creating over there. These were creator-owned type of stuff, independent publishing. But look where that led us to, where we ended up being featured on PBS TV. We were featured on the cover of Houston Chronicle. So there was a lot of good that came out of there. People remember me also. So some fans from the US remember me from there as well. And the third initiative is probably the reason why I'm even here in the first place. This was around 2008. I came up with an idea where in 2009, the end of 2008, there was a recession that happened. So before that, I was flooded with work. There was, through my company, Expand CGI, formed in 2007, there was a lot of work coming in. But then come beginning 2009, there was a lot of, there was not enough work to go around. So at this time, I thought, again, this is a good time for me to do that thing which I've always wanted to do. So I started this writing a script for a film. So it was about a time-traveling cyborg who would go back and record lost history. And soon I realized that this was a really big project and I'm not able to sustain myself. So I started, taking in help from people on social media. Twitter was new at the time. So I got in touch with friends from there. Everybody who appears in this film is a Twitterati from that time. There was I worked my 7 machines to the core, rendering. Things weren't so easy at that time because here we are, like rendering some photorealistic type of work on. They were workstations, but then you can imagine, like, each frame is being pushed to several minutes, and then once you put it together for a small sequence, it could take days or weeks. So it was a really long time consuming type of process. So I tried to take in some help from people online, and in lieu of sponsorship, I would put their logo in there, and all right, well, I really want to make this film. So 2 things I did. It was a very ambitious type of project. It was supposed to be initially it was written out as a 30-minute type of an animation, but then I shrunk it down to a very basic scene in the film, and which was achievable. And so I reduced the scope of work, and I also started getting in help from my resources. So once these started, people were really passionate about it. Once things got started, this ended up being launched at the Cannes Film Festival, and the Gulf Film Festival. And then you see the thing, like a small initiative, it's a ripple, and the ripple effect, it really is profound. By the end of it, you get something that you hadn't thought of earlier. These are some of the I mean, there's a whole lot. I can talk about this for several hours. There's just so much that happened thanks to this. But then, yeah, it led me to the awards, to the look. I can say, hey, mom, on the cover of a magazine. And then the best thing of all, my dad, Allah yarhamu, he would always introduce me as, this is my son, his film went to Cannes. This is my son, he made an award-winning film. So it made him super proud that I managed to do this. So this is something, again, came out of initiative. So make sure that you have that initiative project in mind, and when that opportunity arises, jump in and do it, because that's the thing that's going to get you on the map. And while you're doing this, remember, there was another parallel thing that you were going to do in your career, is you're going to make your mark on social media, or make sure that people know of you. Make sure that your work is out there. Don't worry about people ripping you off or stealing your work. Just go out, share it. It's okay. If they want to steal, they'll steal it. But then the ones who steal will never really prosper. They can only go so far. It's you that is doing the work, that you want your name out there. So make sure that you have, I would advise everyone to have a good, strong portfolio. Keep some of the best ones maybe on ArtStation and some of the sites. Keep your Instagram. Keep some, maybe make one of your platforms where you're sharing work in progress and that kind of stuff. Maybe a Twitter or X is a good way of doing that. So interact, make contact. Yeah, make sure that you know, because your potential employer would be looking at these kind of things. Here's one thing which I would highly recommend, because towards the end of your career, remember you had the aspiration to be the greatest. You have to plan for that from now. So what is it that you wanted to be known for is what you start off now. You will end up on Wikipedia. What do you want to be known as? So here's one thing about, you know, getting onto Wikipedia, because it works on notability, right? So if you have a lot of newspaper articles citing you and quoting you and featuring you, that is fodder for your future Wikipedia article. So what you want to be known, what you want to be doing from now is do stuff to get work out there, to get known for something. Keep your best face forward. Avoid if you see my socials, I hardly ever put anything other than work. If you want to have a personal account, just go ahead and do that, but then don't mix that with the thing that you're trying to promote. So yeah, you will also make sure that you have so you have on one side, you're working towards getting recognition. You want to make sure you also have enough work that's being featured. They want to, you have to think from a potential employer point of view. There's one thing, yes, which I have, which completely slipped my mind. You want to make sure that whatever work that you have done, or whatever work you have, your work has been featured in, you want to get recommendation letters for that. You want to get recommendation because you want to have some proof that you were actually there, you did something. You want to get a certificate of appreciation or a letter from, if your work was featured in a gallery, if your work was featured on, on TV or someone used it in publication. Make sure that you have some form of, if you worked a part-time job or if you did something as an initiative, make sure that you have some sort of written proof from those people. When I was approached for the Creative Golden Visa, this is one of the hardest categories to get, by the way. You have to submit like a huge amount of paperwork to even get recognized. This helped me a lot because from day one, I've always kept recommendation letters and certificates of appreciation. And I have a full stack of certificates that I can use as proof. So this is something that you want to work towards, is ultimately you want to get into notability. For the longest time, I have been a proponent and vocal evangelist for moving on to new technologies. You have sorry, I'm just checking time. I think we're good with time. Yeah? Right. So for the longest time, I've been telling people to get on to new technologies, new trend, learn. Some of my clients who were maybe in the early 2000s, when the websites were getting popular. So I would approach them and say, hey, you need to move your business onto there. It's really the smart thing to do. But then there were a lot of these stubborn type of people who said, you know what, look, our business is personal. People walk into our store and then we deliver and so on and on. And it's we're fine with that. We don't need a website. The same people, once they realized that their competition came onto the scene, stole their thunder, took away business from them, and now they want to have a website overnight. So before that eventuality arises, make sure that you are ahead by adapting new technologies. Now, we will definitely be talking about AI in a little while. But in between, I also want to make this a sort of an informative session. It's not just a one-way thing. So I will share with you a couple of case studies of what these are probably two of my most commonly requested works. So case study number one is about comics. Comics is, of course, an excellent medium for storytelling. It's more popular than ever. It's you're following a certain size, then you get these templates that you can use. Most often the page size is around 11 by 17. So comics is a group effort. You are working in a team, unless you're one of those one-man shows who does all of it. There are people like that as well. But typically comics that are produced are the 23 to 25 pages long monthlies that come out. Those are a collaborative effort. You start off with the writer. The writer works with the artist who lays out the initial panels. The writer also guides the flow of how he's kind of like the director also, I guess, so we see a lot of times it's a collaborative effort between the writer and the penciler, who's the main artist of the comic. So once that's established, then there's space that is left out for dialogues, and the initial pencils are done. And from there, you have the finished pencils. There's one process missing in between these two. You have the finished pencils, and the finished pencils are then given to the inker. The inker embellishes it and makes it into fine, legible work and rubs out the pencils. Then from there, there's another process that goes in between goes to the flats, the person who does the flats. The flat person cuts out individual shapes of the entire panel into different flat colors. Now, this information is taken by the colorist, who then, easily selects those areas and paints them or colors them in a more appealing way, with more detail and light and shadow. And finally, there's the lettering that's added on. There's sound effects that are added on, and then there's a nice gloss towards the end, some color correction, and so on for the overall thing. And this is how a typical comic book page is made. Comics is also a very demanding type of work. You have to be a very diligent worker. You are churning out 23 pages a month. It may not sound like much, but it is a lot of work. And comics are notorious for missing their deadlines. Why? Because the artist took on more than he can chew, and the work gets delayed, mostly because of that. Storyboarding, on the other hand, is not as detailed or meticulous as comic art, but it is more demanding in a different way, because the storyboarding is the process where you're visualizing the artist's direct vision and giving it a sequence in a visual format and sharing it with the agency, who then shares it with the client and the team, who use that as the basis for filming a film, a TV commercial, or a series, or even a movie or animated film. So it's a very important part of the creative process. So taking the director's vision and putting it on. But what is the real case scenario? The agency will approach you. All right, we have a PPM happening the next day or the day after, and we need boards for a commercial. So the director will come onto a Zoom call just like this, maybe, or you might have to go and take the briefing from the director, who's usually like flown in from a different country, and they give you the instructions. Make sure you record that meticulously, because you only have a very small window to complete the work and submit it. The way I usually work is like if it's Zoom, I record the call, I take in the information, I break it down into the rough draft. First draft, I share it within 24 hours. So this way the director knows that it's right. At that point, they have like feedback. You know what, Jay, make this frame wider, make this. So you need to know some terminology. You need to know some lingo, what is a worm's eye view? What is an American shot? What is a long view? What the director is implying when it comes to the kind of shot that they're looking for, overhead and so on. So at that point, you have a chance to rectify, and then you're within another 24 hours, you're like supposed to finish like maybe 25 to 50 frames. So it's a very demanding, very creative, very time-intensive type of work. So just keep that in mind when you're considering getting into this. So one thing that I must talk about, even though it's not really part of the fantasy world, is most of the roads that you see, the career paths, end up taking you to establish your own business or a brand out of so whatever it is, it's a business aspect. So I started my company in 2007, back when rules were a little bit different. I started in Dubai Media City. It was a shared desk type of a setup. So you can start small. So I would recommend starting small. You can get an angel investor or a partner, or take a bank loan and get your work out there. But you don't want to start in a minus. Believe me, this is something which is just going to add to your burden. Start small, grow into it, and then when you're ready for it, maybe take the next step and get. So again, I'm the opposite. I prefer to keep my operations small and manageable. When you're starting off, you probably need like 100,000 or no, 100,000 dirhams maybe to show as a bank balance. You need to submit a business plan, 5-year business plan of what you want to do with your company, because starting off a company in the UAE will definitely be it has its pros. The reason why you want to do that is because I'll tell you what was my inspiration for starting the company. I was doing fine as a freelance person, but then there is a degree of comfort that the client faces when they're dealing with a company rather than an individual. Even though you might be an individual company, it's still a better position to be in, because even government jobs, for example, they might not want to prefer working with freelancers. It's their discretion at the end of the day, but then in real life, they want to work with a company. They want to give you more work. They want someone accountable. They don't want someone who they feel might run away. So establishing a business is a good idea. So you have a business plan. Then there's a process of 3 months of approval. And then there's, they do also a police check, so make sure you are not doing anything shady. And from day one, keep your accounting in order. This is something which I figured out later, because in those days, there was no FTA, a federal tax authority for the UAE. That came in many years later. So I was lax with my accounts. It's a one-man show in the beginning. So I'm like using it for my personal expenses as well as company expenses. So anything coming in, but I would still maintain on Google Sheets incoming and outgoing. So I have a good idea. So make sure that you are doing your accounting from day one. This is something that you're going to be thanking me later for. There's a threshold that your business would meet, which is maybe if you reach your first $100,000 in invoicing, from then on, you would be required to register your company. Till then, you can fly under the radar. Once you register your company, then you have a regular quarterly invoicing that from whatever invoicing that you do, you have to whatever VAT you charge, you have to send it to the FTA and keep a track that way. I highly recommend Zoho books, because this is something which is very easy to, it's user friendly, and it's FTA registered, so it'll make things easier. But yeah, that's the boring maths, and I'm sure we have another speaker coming up later, Fiona Roberts, who can give you more details about that. Next thing you want to do is keep your overheads low. Do not hire people as full-timers, because once you hire people, that is like a big commitment. Make sure that when you're hiring someone, that they are pulling in their weight and you can afford to keep them. It's not like, oh, okay, this month I have the money, and then you have to like think about. So you have to think in the long run. You have you can collaborate, which is what I do, trying to keep the. I have some specialists that I have access to, that I get them involved in certain projects, and we have this type of a relationship going on, where it's a per project basis. You have budgeted for their work, and everybody's happy at the end of the day. This is going to be the most important part of your business. You might find it hard to believe, but we have never, ever used money to advertise our business online at Expanse. It has always been word of mouth. And remember all those things that you've been doing? You've been doing the 110. You've been giving back to clients. You're making sure that your clients are happy with you, with the work that you do. Yes, keep that in mind, because your clients are the ones that are going to keep you in the business. Make sure that your client is happy. You're giving him something more than what you're looking for, and then the word of mouth starts happening. You have one project will get you 10 projects. You will have to choose between projects if you play these cards right. So yeah, just make sure word of mouth is positive, not negative, and you will never have to worry about where your next client is going to come from. Okay, now for some bad news. You see this image of a magical rainbow kingdom. It was done by my 8-year-old who got onto my Discord and typed magical rainbow kingdom and got that. This is, some of you might be feeling an existential threat now. So what is even the point of doing all of this now, when a child can come up with that? So I'm here to argue otherwise. I think this is the best thing that has ever happened to designers. Now, do not think of AI as someone who's your competition, who's out there to take your job away. Think of it as your assistant. Remember how people always say, oh, I wish there were two of me so I could do twice the amount of work. And so here you have not just two of you, you have multiple versions of you from the multiverse, and you can do so many different things with that. You have, you know, AI assistants for writing, for design related stuff, for video, for you name it, and it's there. Audio, scripting. It's just so much that is possible now. Think of it as as extra help that you have. And this is the way you need to do things, because at the end of the day, the client is coming to you and not going to a machine. And this is where your personality, your talent, your creativity, your personality matters. Your mind, they want to see that. They want to see what it's not about a kid who can fluke one. It's about a creative individual. You know, well, like creative directors, they don't actually do the works, right? They direct others to do stuff creatively. So this is where and why would a creative director get paid more than the graphic designer who's actually coming up with the work? Is because of their creative vision. And this is where you as a creative person will win out in the end. And then you have the opportunity now to, because you know it's you have to think of it as a great time to live in, because never in the history of mankind have you ever had a time where you could imagine something and a visual appears by imagining, and it's possible now. So what's stopping you from doing the next best thing? What's stopping you from greatness? What is stopping you from taking all these free resources that they have given? Unreal Engine is free. Unreal Academy is free. What is stopping you from making your visions come alive now? So don't think of it as a dejection. Think of it as the best time to be alive as a designer, as a creative person, and use these tools to make those stories happen. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is in a nutshell, a career in fantasy. And I hope to see you all succeed. I leave the floor to Margot.
Hi, Ashraf. Thank you
Maybe I
very,
should
very
stop
much.
sharing.
There was so much information in that session, thank you, that it will be well worthwhile people reviewing that when we send all the recordings out to everybody. I'm just going to put you on the spot for a minute. Is there any chance of seeing some live action animation? Have you got one of the, an example from maybe Xero Error or anything?
Could you play the trailer for Xero Error, because that's on YouTube. If you would
That'd
you
be
be able to
great.
do that, because you're sharing? It's a Xero Error trailer or
just 1 second. Let's see. Just while here it is. We're just going to share the screen. So I'm just curious how you what your participation in this was. You drew every scene. Was this you drawing every scene for this movie?
This was, I initially came up with the script. I came up with the concept art for the entire film. I came up with the characters. So it was like creatively, it was all my vision. I directed it. I even modeled part of the character. I textured it. I was involved in the editing. I was directing the sound guy to how I want the sound. So it was it was creatively driven by me. And there were some people who joined on board that, that helped make it a better product. So obviously a professional audio recordist and professional voiceover guys. They're not professional, but then they recorded their voices in a studio setting. And we had this fun casting session of people, you know what, everybody come try out your talent. And if you think so it was a bit of a discovery type of a thing. So everything from audio to visual, right to the editing. So it all had my input in there.
So okay, let's have a look at the trailer, which we'll do right now.
وجلب الدمار الحال المخاوف في قلوب الناس.
Once again, the scientific conglomerate breaks the technology barrier with its latest marvel, Project Xero Error.
We're throwing the biggest end-of-the-world party.
Are you seeing this?
Several years from now, Virtual Geographic will bring about the biggest change on the planet.
It's all over. There is no tomorrow.
Can they succeed this time? Only time will tell.
Excellent, thank you. So this is not strictly comics. How did you make the transition from comics to this CGI?
So CGI has always been one of the things which I've always wanted to get into. Remember the Tron film reference? That was one of my first inspirations. And I've always had that. And when that technology became achievable, so, and of course I had the time on my hand and I had the resources to be able to do that, because remember, Expanse is called Expanse CGI. So animation is a fairly big part of it. There is, of course, we do other things as well, branding and film and comics. And comics is more of a personal projects, that I would say. And this was also sort of, I used the resources which I had at hand to do this personal project, which I've always wanted to do, to be honest.
So my next question is, that was new technology then. So could you recreate that, or not recreate necessarily, but could you do that in AI now?
AI can definitely do a lot more than what I could in there, but there is still one thing which it's still an emerging technology where you don't have the consistent form factor for telling a consistent story. So this is one of the biggest complaints from designers who are working with AI, that they don't have consistent characters, they don't have consistent scenarios. It's all every frame has a jitter, everything has like a different feel to it. That said, they are improving as we speak. It's just the improvements that have been, like, even just a year ago compared to now is mind-blowing. And for sure, there is a way to incorporate AI, because there's some people who are doing real-time. So they do the block version of the scene, and then a prompt is driving real-time conversion in another window of that very same scene, but that is looking like a polished, finished render, which would have taken us months to do, but it's happening real time now. And then you can take that and run it through another AI upscale program to make a grainy video something more finished and polished. And so these are things which were unheard of at the time. And if only I had these kind of technologies at that time, it would have been a lot smoother process, and a lot more would have been done. Maybe I probably could have done that longer film, which I always wanted to do.
Okay, thank you. We will be hearing more from Ashraf on AI in our panel discussion at 5 o'clock this afternoon. We do have a question. If anybody online would like to send in questions, please do. I'll just hand over to Kanika to ask her question.
Hi, Ashraf. Thank you for that brilliant presentation. There was such good advice for our creators who are going to go out in the job market or thinking of starting on their own. I had a question on how do you connect with the right people in the industry? I know you spoke about just approaching Khalij Times, but that's not always the possibility when you're starting out fresh. So how did you go about it when you were a student or a young artist and trying to get your work out there?
So you cannot compare what that time was to this, because when I was a student at that time, we did not even have the internet. So it was a completely personal, picking up the phone, making cold calls, introducing yourself, that type of work was involved. But now you don't have to. You have these amazing, I mean, this platform, for example, you have so many things like this that happen around Dubai. Go and introduce yourself. And there are career fairs that actually seek out students to work with them. I think there's one happening this month, somewhere in the Knowledge Village, not the Knowledge, Academic City, actually. So you want to be there and make the contacts. So social media is where you will be making most of your splash. So get your work out there so people know you, and this will help because a lot of times if you keep talking about, I'm the best at branding, I'm the best at branding, I do this branding, I have done this branding, so they register that in the back of their mind. Next time when they're looking for, hey, best branding guy, you know what, this guy claimed to be one of the best branding guys, let me approach him. So that type of self-publicity, but not overbearing, it helps as well, because you keep posting, and then you have amazing platforms now. You have Instagram, you have you just keep posting your work, get people to like it, share it. Like I said, don't worry about other people stealing it. That's not that's immaterial. But this is how you end up making contacts. So.
Thank you. Yes, it's extremely important for people to have professional social media sites. I have another question. When you start your process, is it always sketching with pencil, or is it straight onto a tablet or some other form of digital drawing?
Yeah, I'm guilty of going completely digital now. I used to be a traditional artist, and I used to use pen and ink, and the crow quill pen dipped in ink, and then I missed that. It was a great start. And so that said, sometimes I do sketch out stuff on pencil. But when you have devices like this little iPad, I purchased it for like what, $3,500, and it paid off for itself in a month because I used it for creating work. And the kind of stuff that I can do on a device like this, which I can just walk around with, I could not do a few years back on even a large monitor connected with a high-powered PC. So it's so easy for you to get started with ideas. So for me, it's like, you know, open a new page on the Procreate app and then just sketch out some roughs. And that's how I get started.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Anyone else? Okay, we have a question online. How important is it to develop an ability to go out and just observe life and people and then connect the dots to come up with stories? So how important is it to get out into the world and observe to get inspiration?
No, that's a very, very important question. Some of the best artists and designers and people who have done their due diligence and made a name in the world, I have asked them, this seemed to be a common advice, that learn from nature, observe nature, draw from real life, learn from. So it's very important to keep, you know, like especially if you're in the visual industry, you need to observe what is going on in real life and try to capture that because, you know, a lot of times, whether it's film or comics or whatever, they're always a reflection of reality. And the more you observe, the better you get.
Yep, good advice. We have many more questions that we could ask you, but unfortunately we will be moving to the next speaker, but we look forward to speaking with you a bit later today and welcoming you back to the festival. So thank you very much, Ashraf, for all of that information, and it will be good to review the presentation in the recordings. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.